Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. So we know constant within JavaScript locks a value in place, but let's break down the syntax and go line by line so you understand it in full. So the first thing we have is a keyword. So this is going to be a contract, if you will, that's saying, hey, anything I name after this is going to be a binding contract, to be a promise to say, hey, this value is going to be immutable, so it's never going to change. So next we have the tax rate. So this is the identifier. So we can really label this whatever we want. It's going to be camelCase though, and that's how they're defined within JavaScript. You can also name it whatever you want, but this is the standard naming convention within JavaScript for variables. Just keep that in mind. The next is going to be the operator. So this is not like in math where it equals something, right? We're not doing a math equation here. This is going to mean that anything that comes after this equal sign of tax rate is going to be a value paired with it. So it's always going to belong within this bucket. So it's basically saying take everything that's on the right of this equal sign and stuff it on the box to the left of it, which is tax rate. And now we have our value, which is 0.07. That's the data itself. So this is going to be the immutable number that's always going to stay in this value form. So it's never going to change from 0.07 that we have listed. And then we have the semicolon. So this is basically going to tell the computer, hey, I'm done with this line of code. I can move on to the next thing now. And everything within tax rate is here. So knowing the syntax is great, but actually using it in real world applicability is something completely different. So let's take a look at this block of code we have here. So from the top on lines 1 and 2, we have max login attempts and then the DB URL, so the database URL. So you can notice how they're written in all caps, right? This is called screaming snake case. So this is basically saying that these are fixed configuration settings. So think of it as security of protocols, right? So you don't want to surpass the max login attempts and use it as a let instead of a const, because what's going to happen later in your block of code, you can actually raise that login attempt to say 100, or somebody could just change it, some junior developer or somebody else. And now you can have an unlimited range potentially of how many login attempts you can actually have. And now your account's not going to get locked out ever. So this is really truly a security setting built in place so that you can see exactly what it is by having this type of casing. The next thing we have is line 5. So it's going to be let current attempt equals 0. So we switch back to let here because it represents state, right? So it tracks exactly what's happening right now. So right now, the amount of current attempts is 0. So users' attempts will change. They'll start at 0, then go to 1, then 2, and so on. If they have to surpass 5, they get to 6, then they're going to get locked out, right? So the rule of thumb is to use const for the rules of your apps and let for actions for the user. Now let's move down to the logic check, right? So we have function and we have a temp login. So that's the function name we're using is a temp login. You can see that it's in blue. So inside the if statement, we're comparing the two. So we check if our changing state current attempts here has hit our fixed limit of max login attempts. Because max login attempts is a const at 5, so we can trust the security check implicitly, and we know it's not going to be ballooned up to 50, for example, because it's a const, right? So it's going to be a mutable number that we have in place. And then at the bottom, we're actually changing the value, right? So this is taking what you've actually done so far and propagate. So from the top down, what you have is going to be your database URL, your login attempts, static at 5. You have the let current attempt. So currently you have 0 attempts, the attempt login function. And then at the bottom below that as well, for current attempts, you also have how many attempts have you actually done out of the max login attempts. That's going to return that as well. But this is another way just to look at const within JavaScript. I know we talked about it a few times already, but it's always good to see different ways of how it's actually used in real world applicability. But with that said, let me know your thoughts down below. Hit the like button, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching, y'all.